Welcome, one and all, to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is a man who is everywhere, if you are into TTRPGs at all. B. Dave Walters.
It is I. I got to tell you, I messed up because normally I do my dramatic intro. So hold on a second, and also
Okay.
leave this in. Don't edit this
No,
out.
of
I
course,
want you to see how the
I hate
sausage is made.
editing.
Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. Wait. All right. Watch this. Watch. Okay. All right. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Welcome, one and all, to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they do. With me today is a man who is everywhere, if you are into TTRPGs, B. Dave Walters.
Hello. Yes. Hi. It is I. That was the dozens and dozens of my fans cheering for me.
Yeah,
And
no, I
what?
heard it.
Yeah. This is like it was on the internet. It's true. It's real now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
You know,
Uh,
and I want you to know, dear viewer, part of me was like, I didn't do my dramatic intro. I should ask us to just like film the intro again. Nah. You get the full. You don't even need to watch the rest of this interview. You now know who I am and what I'm about. Like that was the distilled essence of me. I gave you a TLDR right up front.
and you can see how lazy I am about editing because that'll be the intro.
It's we're both revealing the nature of the thing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like be as you would appear.
exactly.
100%. Yeah.
How's it going?
World's on fire.
Going on
The
fire.
horrors persist, but so do I. So.
That's all we can ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we are going to take a trip down B. Dave Walters Lane, or street, or road. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel like a boulevard,
Boulevard.
perhaps.
Very nice.
I feel like a boulevard. Yeah.
What would you say was the instigating moment for the version of you that you have become at this point?
Um, I saw a meme like 2 days ago, and it was like a picture of Ernie and Bert walking, and it was like from the 70s, like a children's book. And at the bottom of it, it said, "To love someone is to attend the thousand births of the person they're becoming."
Hmm.
Um, it so happens that I can look back on my life and I can see an unbroken chain of events that has led exactly and precisely to where I am. But rather than just talk for the next hour in granular detail about that, I'd say more than anything, I was raised in an environment that encouraged curiosity and self determination. My mom was a geek in a time where it was not fashionable for Black people and not women, and especially not Black women, to be geeks.
Hmm.
So I was sort of all steeped in geek culture and encouraged to pursue it. My dad was a serial and Trump entrepreneur who always wanted to do his own thing, and very much stressed and impressed, being your own person. And both of them were very much don't give in to peer pressure.
Hmm.
And so I was always in a place that I felt safe to pursue the things that spoke to me. Ironically enough, my mom did say in later years that she'd done too good of a job with both me and my sister because later on, she was, you should do this. And it was like, I'm going to do what I want. And she's like, you're the beast I created. Yeah, that is true.
Oh, this is the role
So,
that I have given myself. What have I done?
yeah, I would say if there were the exact formative path went like this. Um, when I was 5 years old, I liked building spaceships out of Legos. And my mom said, you should be an aerospace engineer. They get paid to build spaceships. And I was like, word, done, got it. Then got a little older, wasn't the best at math. And the bottom fell out of the aerospace industry when I was like 10, which I was aware of. And I was like, well, that's a bad plan now. What's the next thing I love? Dinosaurs. I want to be a vertebrate paleontologist. And
Hmm.
around the time Jurassic Park landed on my face, one is still one of my favorite movies of all time. Want to be a dinosaur scientist. That was the plan for a few years. Then I realized that most of paleontology is not talking about and thinking about dinosaurs. It's laying on your stomach in 120-degree heat, scratching at rocks with a toothbrush.
Hmm.
So I was like, that's not very cool. Around this in the 12th grade, around the same time, I got exposed to Shakespeare for the first time. Read Macbeth. It was formative. Went to college, ended up pursuing a English degree. Realized I wanted to be a writer. Started training in the martial arts about this time. Ended up becoming bodyguard for Evanescence, my friend's rock band, because of my martial arts training, which is a different story. Martial arts took me out to LA. Got pulled into some movies and things because I'm gigantic and know how to move. Got some writing opportunities. Because of those writing opportunities, got some convention opportunities, met some people. That's how I got into Geek and Sundry. Had been playing games my whole entire life and never thought there would be a moment where games were a business.
Mhm.
And so thankfully, right place, right time, worked hard. Here we are.
That's incredible. I desperately want to discuss the Evanescence thing, but I don't think we have enough time. Maybe we'll do a second interview just
Yeah.
about that.
I've had an interesting life. Yeah.
It's very cool. Okay, so how you sort of touched on how that pivoted into you being the one of the most ubiquitous TTRPG stars, I would say, at this point.
Yeah. I
It's
appreciate
true,
that.
but it's true.
You know, it's difficult though, and I do appreciate that. And I think I like to believe I've earned my spot. But you know, the as you well know, that the people can have a short memory, especially when you're not always in front of them. Thankfully, I'm working on something right now that hopefully I'll be blabbing on your front page a lot more, a lot sooner. But like, I've produced hundreds of hours of content and thousands of pages of written stuff. And still, when people know who I am and what I do, I'm still just like, oh, you guys, thanks.
Does the does the level of like authority that you have in the space, do you feel do you appreciate the gravitas that your presence like lends to any kind of show, and do you feel extra pressure because of it?
Yes to the gravitas, no to the pressure. But I am selective. Um, I will guest on very few projects.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't want to say I don't want to get overexposed because I never really believed that that's a thing.
Mm.
But you have to be mindful of if people see you in a flagship production and then see you in 6 mom and pop things, it
Mm.
becomes not you were trying to help people out with a mom and pop thing. It
Mm.
becomes maybe you don't belong in the main event anymore. So that's something I'm mindful of.
That makes sense.
Also, when you're a play, I'll do any charity game, but that's always been my thing. I'll always do anything for charity. But I will almost never play on somebody's stream because it's very easy to have a situation where it's trash and then you're trapped for hours.
Mm.
And that's just the worst. When I'm DMing, I can make it dope because I can steer it. Also with interviews, I'll speak with anybody. Not everybody's you like this. I mean, come on, I'm here with you. But not everybody is. But the reason why I will do any interview is even if I have a bad interviewer, and most people are fine because you're just talking, but I can carry an interview. I can make it interesting.
Yeah.
I can make it interesting just by, doing what I do. And even if they don't have a big audience, that audience still may not know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if we went out tonight, I think people have a very skewed perspective on what numbers mean when it comes to videos and social media and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That you can have 50 views on something and that's a failure. But it's like, well, but if you had a party tonight and 50 people came to your house, it'd be the party of the century.
Yeah.
Like if you were like, let me introduce you to some friends of mine and it's 25 people, it's just like, oh, whoa, not everybody. I mean, it's great when it's thousands and thousands and millions of people, but I mean, it's almost more intimate when it's a smaller audience. And I read once that it was in one of Gary Vee's early books, where he said you can put up a video and it's only got 3 people, but if you find out those 3 people are Oprah, Bill Gates, and Obama, you're probably gonna be doing okay. So, yeah.
100%. Very cool. Do you prefer? So you obviously prefer DMing the games rather than starring in them. How often are you offered those kind of opportunities?
It's interesting because people used to ask me which I like more, DMing or playing. And I would always say I like both equally. And I meant it. I wasn't trying to be evasive. But I realize 100% of the time when I'm offered to DM or play, I choose to DM 100% of the time. I have never declined to run a game
right
in favor of playing in it. So There you go. Because also when you're DMing, you are still playing and you're playing everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. So I'm definitely sought out more for DMing, especially when you factor in things like D&D in a castle and traveling around, running games and things like that. But I still have people messaging me all the time about Victor Temple, undisputed Baron of the Valley. My main freely that I played in D&D for years, and either oftentimes you like other like niche characters like one shots and stuff. I'm like, you remember that? I barely remember that, but okay, so
very cool. Let's talk about D&D in the castle. Like how's that? How's that
great.
differ versus like online and versus standard home games and stuff? Like what's the differences between them all?
I've lost count of how many times I've done it, but I've run like 22 or 23 tables at D&D in a castle now. It's kind of down to me, Mark Mir, and Elisa Teague. But if you factor in the smaller weekend events, it's definitely down to me and Mark. I think he may be narrowly ahead, but I don't know because I'm about to do more before him. So it's close. It's close. I don't dare check because right now it's Schrodinger's competition. I really like when you can sort of unplug and just focus on just that one thing for a little while. It adds a flavor and an experience to the game that's very different, very unique. It's like streaming is different from a home game. Pre-taping is different from live.
Yeah.
But being able to just only have this one thing that you've got to do. You don't even have to you don't have to worry about when you're going to eat. You know what I mean? Like the only thing you have to do is show up, play the game, and then eat a little something, then play the game, then eat a little something, and then probably go out and do a not insignificant amount of drinking, and then go to sleep and get up and do it all again the next day for like 3 days. And you can achieve a depth of narrative and experience that I haven't been able to find in any other way. Because even if you tell a long form story like the Black Dice Society, I think we did 66 episodes.
Okay.
And I definitely got them more than once emotionally. But it is difficult if I can take you to a peak and then we got to wait a week, you know what I mean? And like you might even show up excited, but now we kind of got to like rolling start back into where it was. Which is interesting. I've gone back and forth about whether or not I prefer live or pre-taping. All things being equal, I think I still prefer live. You get a different reaction from the audience.
Yeah.
Even though appointment viewing is kind of going the way of the dodo. But with pre-taping is the closest thing you can get to that vibe that I was talking about, though.
Yeah, that constant.
That I can have the dun 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 moment.
Yeah.
And maybe we just gotta again break to eat something. And then come back and be like, and then it's gonna be a week for the person, but not for the performers.
Yeah.
So
you feel like the roller coaster is a little more congruent, I guess, consistent in that respect.
I think so, but there's a safety net with pre-taping. And here's what's wild. Again, pre-taped hundreds of hours of content. I can think of maybe one retake I've ever had, and I've only even heard of like 2 or 3. There's a couple of places that are, I don't want to bust anybody out, but it's borderline television now with how many like cuts and retakes they want to do. But for the most part, it's live to tape, because one of the things about streaming that I have to point out to people is we are never going to out TV. We're never going to out muscle TV ever. And so don't try and be TV. A lot of times the imperfections, it's like kabuki theater, it's like the fact that you can see the puppeteers behind them is part of the show.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you get a little tongue tied or you mess something up a little bit or anything like that is part of the charm. So then that is a vote for live, right? So it's different arrows in the quiver, different tools in the toolbox.
Very cool. Along with all of the D&D stuff, you've also done teaching and you do life coaching, right?
I don't really actively coach anymore. I kind of roll that content kind of into all the other things. I was a coach for a long time, and when I started at it, I was bad at it because human beings only have like 5 problems, maybe 10, maybe 10. But there's not a lot of things that go wrong in our lives. It manifests in different ways. It's like saying there are trees and there are flowers, and there are vegetables, and there's different kinds of trees and different kinds of flowers, different kinds of vegetables. But it's really more like, yeah, there's roses, and there's only so many kinds of roses.
Yeah.
So when I first started, people would be like, "Oh my God, I have this problem," and I'd be like, "Dope, here's the solution," and I'd be right, but that's meaningless. That bounces off people like bullets off Superman, man. Like, they're like, no, it can't be that simple. My problem must be unique. I must be the only person who has ever dealt with it. And I'm like, buddy, you're not the only person I talked to dealing with it today. So I got to the point that it's like you have to bring them around and help them to see it. You can't tell them. You have to help them realize it. So I got to the point that I was very good at it. The other thing that I was bad at is when a person came to me that was suffering, because I routinely would be like, I want to die. I get these kind of messages. I couldn't be like, cool, great. If you could just put in your credit card number, we can get down to business. So it's like I only ended up charging people who'd kind of come through the website portal and paid before we even talked, but my DMs are open. So it was difficult to make a living at. So now I spoonful of sugar that stuff and just sort of like smuggle into the other content that I'm always ranting about, little nuggets of joy to kind of help people feel a little less sane. Because, apologies for the rant here, I have, besides the things I've accomplished in TTRPGs, I've written and had television produced. I've written and had films produced. I've written and had comic books published, graphic novels published. I've published novels. There's like J. Michael Straczynski, Neil Gaiman, and me. And those guys got some bigger bank accounts, but not a lot of people have done the things I've done. And I used to be like, but I'm the only one that worked in TTRPGs. Apparently Neil Gaiman wrote a foreword for a World of Darkness book. So I don't know if that counts. I don't know if it counts, but I say it with an asterisk. Through this multiplicity of things that I do, and I've done more than that, the constant through line, and it sounds more grandiose than I mean when I say it, but it's true, is, was a nationally syndicated columnist too. The through line is reducing human suffering to help a person take their mind off their troubles for a while and realize that they are not strange or broken for feeling how they feel. And that can come in a lot of forms. It can come as a laugh. It can come as scaring the hell out of them, or a catharsis that wrings tears out of them, or any such thing. But that's the common thread in all the things I do, is that. It always has been. So.
Is that the thread that you've kind of been following? Is that how you've ended up weaving through so many different things?
Yes. I'm just blessed to be good at a lot of things. I'm blessed to be bad at a lot of things. I'm terrible with spatial relations. I'm not very good with math, my desk is a mess here, but I know where everything is. You know what I mean? Like this isn't my perfection of character. Far from it. I'm a highly specialized organism. But I've been fortunate that I'm able to pursue and indulge in the things that I am good at. And I've been blessed to be put in situations where my strengths are allowed to shine. So in the times when my numerous weaknesses get the best of me, I just don't post those videos.
That is, to be fair, that is just the internet. I don't think anyone posts the videos where
True.
things go horribly awry, right?
Yeah. It's it is amazing that we have such a stylized, processed, sanitized view of so many people's lives that they make public. And there's still so many people that like take it as true, that they're like, oh, sure, this Instagram influencer, they really are in Miami every weekend, and they really do, drive all of these cars and have this mansion, and it's like, they don't though. Like, they don't though. Just BT dubs. Yeah.
The same is true of people in the fitness industry. When I was a personal trainer, you see the people who take these fitness shots. They're on like 6% body fat and they look incredible.
Yep.
They are like that for half an hour out of the year.
Oh yeah. Before Photoshop, before airbrushing and lighting and posing and all of that,
Yep.
Yeah. And it's you're absolutely right, because I do my fair share of worshiping at the Iron Temple. I'm very small right now because I was traveling for like 2 months, so I've been out of my routine. Got to get back into it. But yeah, you're super right. The muscle and fitness cover, and like I remember this was years ago, and I don't know if it's true still with some upgrades in technology, but at least in the 80s and 90s, for an average play, we'll say maybe up to 2000, for an average Playboy shoot, 8 to 10 pictures in a Playboy spread. How many pictures do you think they took?
Oh, like hundreds, thousands, 100%.
Between 50 and 70,000.
Yeah, that's preposterous.
Between 50 and 70,000 before touch-ups, before edits. So when you look at those things and you're like, those women don't exist, it's like, no, they don't. Like, they don't.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And same with guys, just like what you were saying. It's it is, you got to always remember when you are being sold a product versus being taken on a journey. And what's weird about reality TV is it's more TV than reality. You know what I mean? Even when it's real, it's like, it is a portrayal of things.
Yeah.
Like you're aware the cameras are on.
Yeah.
And you allowed that to make it into the edit and post, because it's got to tell a story. And when anything has to tell a story, you have to alter it. It's like people get so mad about historical fiction and being like, well, that's not what happened. And it's like, well, because what happened isn't interesting.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the real Spartacus during his slave rebellion just caught an arrow in a random battle, and then his girlfriend and all of them got literally crucified. Like, that's not as good as like, hooray, Yeah. Or even if you, or, Braveheart, it's like, well, yeah, William Wallace died. He didn't die like that. In the story wasn't like that. But if you try to tell you the actual story, you're like, you just gotta grade on a curve.
Very much so. Are you satisfied with the things that you're doing at the moment?
Yes, I'm very blessed and very grateful. A thing that I point out to people is when you have an aspiration to go pro in a creative space, once compensated ever, you've done it. I mean, if you get paid $20 to sing at a buddy's wedding, or to take some pictures of somebody, or you design a logo for a friend's business, and they toss you 50, you've done it. You're now a pro. Everything else is a question of scale. So everything I want to do, I'm doing. My ambitions are nearly limitless, but it is mostly about ramping up, because something I find myself saying a lot is, in this space, in the gaming space, I find people kind of fall into 3 large categories in extreme strokes. About 45% of people are disaffected actors. They thought they were going to be Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and they're upset about that. And there is an underlying resentment for whatever success they have in this space. And God willing, I mean, God help if they're not as big in this space even as they thought they were. And people can get really bitter and nasty about that. Even if it looks like they're smiling on camera, behind the scenes, some people are not. Then you have about 45% of people who oftentimes have never been the center of attention before. They've never been the cool guy. They've never been the hot girl. They've never had people look up to them and want to pay attention to them. And fame is intoxicating. It's a drug. The spotlight and the applause are addictive. That's why so many athletes and rock stars and people, when they fall out of their prime, they get into drugs and alcohols and often OD and die, because it is a drug. And when you become hooked on it, that's when it's easy to start feeling threatened by the next cool guy or the next hot girl that's coming up. And that's when the weird gatekeepy behavior starts, and the stuff starts, and kind of the tail eating starts. And then about 10% of people, which I like to think I'm one of them, realize it is wild that we're getting paid money to play freaking D&D. Are you out of your like, we're playing games. You know what I mean? Like, in being compensated for it. Sometimes compensated very well for it. It's like, how can you be mad about anything? Like, my brother in Christ, you're a dwarf barbarian. You know, and just enjoy it. And that's it. I mean, I just enjoy it. I've been fortunate to do some really dope things. And I mean, didn't always work out how I wanted. I didn't want Geek and Sundry to implode. I didn't want G4 to implode. I thought once I broke into comics, writing my D&D comic of Dark and Wish, I was like, hey, great, I'm gonna have a career in comics now. That is not what happened. But instead of being resentful of those things, I instead choose to be grateful for the fact that I even got to do it.
Mm.
And, you know, build on to the next thing.
What do you view as the next thing for you?
Again, scale. I'm working right now on some new products that I intend to launch for the website this month. I want to do a lot more events. I was just there in Australia for like all of September. Did a lot of corporate events and a lot of in-person games, and that went really well. And it showed me that I do, in fact, still have a worldwide audience. So shout out to everybody who is watching anywhere, be it in my country or somewhere else. And I want to do more of that. I want to do more of my own streaming, but streaming is very expensive up front and very difficult to monetize. But with the aforementioned failures of things like Geek and Sundry and G4, I don't want it to be in someone else's power to steer right into the icebergs. And just more, you know, just more. Like if I were to jump ahead in time 36 to 48 months, it's not that I'm suddenly going to have a wine business or something. It's just doing more of these things in the logical evolutions of these things, like a Pokemon.
Makes perfect sense. You have a path forwards for that, obviously. If there was one other thing, one of the other strings to your harp-like bow that you could choose to pursue, which would be the one that you would follow?
Again, the things I want to do, I do. More filmmaking. You know, I write, I act, I produce. I want to direct, because I think everybody does. That's something I've not managed to accomplish yet, but I'd like to do that. But that probably. I mean, but it's by the same token, it's a difficult time, because like my career was kind of diversified between streaming and Hollywood, and both of those industries are rapidly contracting at the exact same time.
Yep.
Like, it's rough when you're like, I'm going to diversify my portfolio. I'm going to invest in corn. Oh, there's locusts. Well, I'm going to invest in oil. Oh, there's oil well fires. Well, I'm going to invest in clean energy. The ground's unstable and the windmills all fell. And it's like, great. Cool. Sure.
Cool.
So that's kind of where we are at this exact second.
I write for a living. I get it. I fully understand. Let's talk miscellaneous stuff. So let's talk martial arts. What martial arts have you done?
I have black belts in Shaolin, Kung Fu, and Tai Chi. I've trained in a variety of Kung Fu styles, Bagua, Tsingy, 5 animals, 5 families, almost anything you can think of. I've done a lot of MMA, Muay Thai, little Jiu-Jitsu. Not particularly dangerous on the ground, but the elbows are real when I get to use them. That sort of thing. I just like it. I like it, you know?
It's fun.
There was a point in my life that I had 3 branching options. It was become a bodyguard for Evanescence. I'd been offered my own Kung Fu school, or I could have pursued becoming a pro fighter, because around this time it was just becoming clear that the UFC was actually going to be a thing. Like that could be a thing. That could be a life. And my logic was, I love fighting, but I don't like getting hit because I'm vain. Like I didn't want my nose to be doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to look like a fighter. And even if I went off and did any of these other things and came back to open a martial arts school, it'd actually be more prestigious. So I was like, I'm gonna go do the Bodyguard thing, because that's the time dependent thing. That's kind of the thing that it's like, if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
The other two, at least I still had some more time for if I chose to. And of course that brought me out to LA, and life went a very different direction, which I do not regret.
Very cool. And weight training. What kind of training do you
do? Hey, here in America, we have a right to bear arms. Down there in Australia, buddy, you gotta cover them things up. You know what I mean? I like to lift heavy. I usually do a full body spread 4 days a week, usually. Monday is back and biceps. Tuesdays, chest and triceps. Wednesdays off. Thursday is leg day. Every day is leg day. Love to squat. We love a leg press. Good for the ego.
Very good for the ego.
Then Friday is shoulders. And when my schedule allows, Saturday is the second day for arms. Is usually it. And then I walk a lot, and I usually try and do cardio afterwards. In a perfect world, I do 4 miles at the end of the workout. Practically, I usually end up doing like 1 mile at the end of the workout. But I also walk back and forth to the gym, so I get in lots of steps in the day.
Walking to and from the gym is a far larger deal than I think most people appreciate.
Yep.
Like you can get straight to it, basically.
Yeah. It is the warm up. Yeah. So when I get there, I have to do a little bit of stretching. I've never had a particularly strong upper body, and I kind of janked my shoulder setting a bench press PR a couple years ago, which was pitiful. It was just like 305, but I was very proud to do it. But my shoulder was like, we won't be doing that again. And I'm like, got it. Great. Good meeting. So, got my shoulder brace, nice. That I wear. So I can't bench as heavy as I would like. But it's funny because again, everything's relative, right? Like I'm 6'9", 300 pounds, which is 2.05 meters and 120 kilos for people that don't use freedom units. And I saw a post where somebody was posting their aspirational bench, deadlift, and squat, just like a normal sized dude. Like it wasn't even like a petite woman or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this dude's goal is like my work rate. Like he was like, I don't know, it's like I want to bench 245, deadlift 300 and squat 400, like something that I was like, oh, that's not, I mean, that's every week.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, it's all relative, like obviously I'm not moving the weight that Phil Heath is moving, but Phil Heath is also 5'3" tall and 5'3" wide.
Yep.
And I'm also getting to an age where I have to be mindful of the fact that I have to take a longer view of things. So if something doesn't feel right, I stop. Like the worst injury I ever got, I knew it was coming. I was doing some curls and I was swinging too much because I was getting tired. My form was going and my back was like, hey, bro. And I'm like, well, I just got like 4 more. And it's like, bro. And I'm like 3 more. And it was like, all right. And it's like, huh? And I felt it right then.
Look, man, I warned you.
Like really, like, I mean, I could have at any time put the weights down and none of this would have happened.
That's how injuries happen. 100%.
Yeah. So having taken from that now that I'm like, I may intend to do 4 sets of 8, but if midway through the first set, it's like, I don't know if today's the day, dude. I'm like, then it's not.
Sometimes you pick the weight up, your body, something in your body is just like, you need to stop, and you
Yeah,
have to listen to that. At least once you're past the age of like 25.
correct. Correct. You know, rack them up, fight another day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put it down, go and have
Hmm.
some food, have a nap, like do whatever you got to do.
Don't let your ego make the call. Yeah.
Yep, because your ego's an idiot.
Hmm.
Useful, but like it doesn't know what it's on about.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Um, Slight pivot. Do you
Hmm.
feel as though monks represent martial arts correctly in D&D?
Absolutely not. For a combat-based game, this whole thing was written by people who've never been in a fight, especially attack of opportunity rules.
Yes.
I hate attack of opportunity rules, and they used to be worse. You used to get hit when you closed and when you disengaged, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you think fights work? You know? And the answer is they don't. So it's not even a good approximation of like kung fu movies.
Mm.
You know, you're like, well, you can hit and then you flurry of blows, you can hit quickly, and it's like, okay. But I mean, it is difficult to truly approximate a real martial arts fight via TTRPG.
Yeah,
I've
100%.
tried myself. I've played plenty of systems that tried, and it's like, you know, it's difficult.
It's a constant issue for me as someone that's done a lot of martial arts and also really enjoys playing monk. Um,
Mm.
I like the power fantasy, but the way it's represented is always just like, but that's
At
not how
all.
fights work at all.
Nope. I mean, it's kind of better in 2024,
Mm.
but it's just their numbers went up.
Yeah.
What styles have you trained in?
So I've done Wing Chun, karate, some jujitsu, some Muay Thai, some boxing, kickboxing.
Hmm.
I feel like there's others, but those are my
Science
main
Eight Lambs,
ones.
baby. Hmm. Yeah.
Wing
Um,
Chun was remains one of my favorites. It's a fantastic martial art. Karate is the one I do mostly. Um, I do some karate with my daughter as well, like getting her into it, which is a lot of fun. Um,
I I tried to teach my girls, and they just didn't really take to it. And I didn't force it because I wasn't trying to
mm,
live vicariously through them.
yeah,
I've taught them like enough boxing and Muay Thai to protect themselves.
mm,
That, like if somebody gets too close, you
yeah,
know, you
yeah,
put
yeah,
one of those on. Put one of those right there.
yeah,
They'll be reconsidering their life options.
yeah, 100%.
But yeah, but they it's not, it hasn't really been their jam. It's funny because how's your daughter?
My daughter's 6.
Yeah, mine are, one just turned 14 last week, and the other is turning 17 in 3 days.
Hmm.
And my plan for their whole life has just been to expose them to things and get them to try it.
Yeah,
But I'm like, if it's your jam, it's your jam, and if it's not, you're not. And it's like at one point they wanted to be streamers because every kid these days wants to be a streamer.
yep,
And I was like, well, I have a very expensive studio set up. You have camera, computers, green screen, whatever you want. You can
yeah.
just do it. Like, there you go. You just do it. And they're like, eh. And I'm like, you guys are so lazy. your, your lives have been so easy, you know? But
I've been
they
too
get
good
the
a
grade.
parent.
That's that. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You need just enough formative trauma, but just, you know what I mean?
Man, you know I do because my daughter
Yeah.
occasionally she's like, oh, it's so unfair, and I'm like, kid,
You don't know what fair
you
is. Yeah. Oh,
don't
whoa.
understand.
It's like the Bluey episode where they have the ice cream in the park
Yes.
is first of all, Bluey's an achievement.
Yeah.
But when they spend the whole time fighting and they don't eat the ice cream and it melts, and then Bluey's like, it's not fair. And her dad is like, it's as fair as it gets,
Yeah.
actually.
No, that's how it works, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is such a tough line to walk, that it's like the butterfly escaping the cocoon. Like you, because there's nothing worse you can do to a person is than spoil them,
Yeah.
give them absolutely everything. But by the same token, though, trying to be some drill sergeant is a way to create broken, resentful people.
Mm-hmm.
And if your kid is highly accomplished and, you know, becomes a doctor or a lawyer or the surgeon general or a Supreme Court justice, but they hate you and themselves, you failed.
Yeah, 100%. Your kid should like themselves and they should be happy. Like that's the
Correct.
aim, right?
Correct. And, you know,
Which,
want to talk to and be around you.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
And,
100%.
I'm fortunate that again, they're teenagers and they still like being around me and they still want to hang out because
Yeah.
I was prepared. If they ever went through my dad is so embarrassing phase, they don't know the depths I was prepared to go to embarrass them. I will sink the ship I'm on to kill the captain, man. I was, man, the number of just like jorts in tattered up t-shirts. Ironically, Crocs the socks is unironically in vogue now, which I realized that the children have gone too far. But
You have gone too
I'm
far.
like, y'all don't know what I was prepared to do. So it just so happens you enjoy my company, and so I guess I'll just keep those in my back pocket.
Do you struggle when you're traveling for like long periods of time with missing the family and everything?
When they were younger,
Mm.
when they were younger, and they didn't really have any concept of it.
Okay,
Now that I can like call or FaceTime them, it's better.
that makes sense.
They don't like it when I'm gone, which makes me feel good. But then I'm also like, yeah, but you do like all of this electricity and stuff, right? Like
You do like
that phone's,
food.
you like eating, and that phone's pretty good too, right? You know what I mean? So they comprehend that like daddy's a mercenary, like I gotta go out and bring something to, bring it down. So yeah, it was, but when they were like 6-ish, it was tough.
Mm.
Because again, they didn't, even when they understood,
Yeah,
they still need a certain amount of FaceTime.
yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like developmentally, which I was blessed to have. I mean, I've been around most of their lives. When they were younger, I still was working day jobs and stuff, but for the most part, I've always been present. I mean, I was there for their first words, their first steps,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, which I was very fortunate for. So they definitely have more experiences of me being physically present than not. But now that they're getting old, like I mean, if I have my wish,
Mm.
I'm gonna do more traveling next year than I've done in like, well, I was gonna say like the last 5 combined, but there was 2 or 3 years that we all were home. But hopefully I'm gonna be moving around quite a lot. But when I'm out, I call, I text them.
Have they shown any interest in like going with you and learning the craft?
Going with me, yes. Learning the craft, no. My oldest especially is a hotfoot. Like she'd go everywhere I go if she could.
Yeah.
She'd let me put her in a suitcase, yeah. It's interesting watching them sort of find their own way. Because I've been campaigning for them to find their passion from like 12.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that I've loved since I was 5, I ended up doing. I created my first comic book characters when I was 5 and ended up writing stories about them.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, and I've explained this to them both, it is not that these things may not change. Odds are they will, but I mean, I got into D&D when I was like 13. And around 13-ish, you start to get to the point where even neurologically, some things start coalescing. Like the kinds of music you like, you probably always will. Like the kinds of books you like, you probably always will. And my point to them both was it's not that you've got to commit to a life path at 13, but if you start thinking, maybe I do want to be a doctor, maybe I do want to be a lawyer, or maybe I do want to be a physicist or whatever, then you can start making choices now that are going to better support you for that later on.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be a fashion designer, we'll start practicing drawing now.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need to,
yeah.
That kind of stuff. And both of them, like my youngest, she thinks she wants to be a lawyer. It's just because she likes arguing and she wants to make money. And I'm like, well, there's more to it than that, but okay,
It's a good start.
Yeah, but she's like Rorschach though. Like she's like, there is guilt and there is innocence, and like the guilty must be punished. And I'm like, life is more gray. It is more gray than that. And she's like, is it? And I'm like, first of all, I'm here for your supervillain arc, but yes. Yes.
I will still love you once you've gone down the dark path.
Correct. I mean, it's really kind of my doing, because I said to you today that the dark side of the forest is a pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural. I did say that, and I do believe it, and it's true, but direct it. Just direct it. And my oldest is just a bohemian wanderer child. I have no idea what she's going to end up doing. And I'm like, I've got to make money to take care of you for so long because you are a leaf on the wind. And okay, okay. I'm not going to try and force you to be what you're not, but you do have to manage to like coexist and function in society.
Capitalism is a thing, unfortunately. So you'll have to
Unfortunately.
cope with it.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So they're good girls, though. I can't complain. Everything that is best in me is in the two of them.
That's lovely. That's just straight up lovely. Is there anything in particular that you would like to plug?
Yeah. My website, theundisputedacademy.com. There are 4 programs: 14-day player, 14-day DM, where I teach you the fundamentals of playing and running games at a professional level. 14-day TTRPG creator, where you can make your own content, and 14-day writer, where I will help you save 5 years off of your career becoming a professional writer. If you want to be a screenwriter, novelist, comic books, whatever, I'll help you do it. I'm about to start coughing, though. Hang on a second, because I don't want to plug a cough.
Might have been a good cough.
I was like, it's true, but I didn't want to like speed run the plug and then be like, I just wanted to say 14-day damn. So I am, however, within about the next week or so, going to be announcing some new programs, a bunch of one-day programs, and also some like much bigger like flagship things. So either way, check out the undisputedacademy.com right now. I'll even give you a code. You can use code 14day50. You can get 50% off any of those things. You go and check it out. And then in like a week or two, definitely by the end of November, look at it again. Gonna be a whole lot more dope stuff.
Nice. Wonderful.
And I'm at B Dave Walters on all the socials. I have radically ramped up use of both Threads and Blue Sky and Mastodon because reasons. Yeah. So still on Twitter. It's Burning Husk. DMs are open. If you have any questions, hit me up.
There we go. The sign off was coined by Antonio D'Amico, Pointy Hat. And we just stare at the camera and wave, and then I cut it. It's great.
Is that what we're about to do?
Yeah. You ready?
All right. Ready?
Oh, wait. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
I'm already
Nope.
Oh no, he's gone. I've been abandoned.